Hi, we've just gone live. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with another episode of our Thursday evening live stream. And we have a special guest. This is my daughter. She is KB0UBW. And she is been a hams, and it was 2 weeks prior to her 10th birthday that she passed her technician. And she's a computer science graduate from CSU and works for Ball Aerospace. So we'll wait as we pick up a few more people coming along. As usual, our goal for this hour and a half that we meet here is to just enjoy each other, share news. Also, if you have a question of some kind, I'll try and answer it if I can. If it's too complicated, I'll have to research and make a video out of it or something like that. I just sent in my November QST column, and I gave them lots of figures, so hopefully that'll work out really well for them, I hope. Okay, let's see. We've had Black Ham Radio University is here, and I talked to him earlier today on the phone. Quesadilla Games says, does it matter which end you feed on an end-fed half-wave, i.e. top of slope versus a bottom slope? No, it does not. You need to remember that a dipole is a dipole. It doesn't matter how you feed it, it's a dipole. So you can feed it from the top, feed it from the bottom. It won't affect propagation. You can also set up an end-fed half-wave as an inverted V if you want to, and still feed it at one end, and it will work very well. So Terrence, 2 Echo 0 India Papa Kilo, where it is 1:46 in the morning in London. Good to have you here. It says, hi Dave, hope you're keeping well. David AC3HT, one of our regulars, says, hello, Dave and all loggies, checking in from northeastern Pennsylvania, the Pocono Mountains, where it's currently 59 degrees. Man, how'd you manage that? Hot and dry weather forecasted for the latter part of the weekend. It is currently 84 here with 19, that's 19% humidity. And it's a little more humid in the house here. Let's see. Chuck Schreiber, good evening, Dave and Augies Worldwide. N5 KVO from the hill country of South Texas, checking in for roll call in Dave's Thursday night classroom. Leo Gustafson, KK7CLY, is visiting from Albany, Oregon. First rain in many months. I'm a little surprised. Are you inland? Or quite a ways inland? I know there's a very definite, almost like somebody drew a line down Oregon from top to bottom. On the western side, it's like rainforest. On the eastern side, it's like desert. I'm going to turn off this air conditioner. It's a little too effective. Okay, Rod Boy, K6SDW, is in overcast Sacramento. Black Ham Radio University says, hey Dave. Bob Ackerman, good evening, Bob. AE0UB in Missouri. Eric D, hello Dave, I hope you are well. Greetings from Palm Springs, California. I'm curious how you guys did with all the rain that's come out last Tuesday, I think it was. We had an inch of rain in one day, and it washed out roads around the county. Our road down to the highway is about a mile of gravel road. It's a little chewed up. I mean, it's not an issue to drive any car over, but it's not smooth anymore, that's for sure. Okay, let's see. Good evening from Bob, AE0UB. Oh, Palm Springs, California. Now, down there in Palm Springs, you guys have this fabulous World War II museum, mostly focused on aviation. It's at the airport, and I've been there and enjoyed it very thoroughly. I'd like to go back and do that because I've done a lot more research on aviation, and now that I'm a pilot, I'd kind of like to see the area through slightly different eyes. Let's see. Ralph Leland, hi Dave and everyone, K4TA in Fork Union, Virginia. AC3HT says, hello, Jennifer. KB0UBW, that is my daughter right there. And Leo questions, what is your name? What is your favorite color? What's your favorite color?
Purple.
Purple. That's odd. That was my favorite color when I was young. So it's genetic, I guess. Phil KE2QIK says, hello, Dave and. Leo Gustafson, what is the capital of Assyria?
A. A.
A?
Yeah, the letter A.
Oh, the letter A. Oh, got me good on that one. Phil KA2QIK, hello Dave and all loggies from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I've always loved the sound of that name, Kalamazoo. Mark Goodrum, WM5MHG, checking in from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've been there. It's a real shame that the Hamfest down there has been permanently canceled. Apparently, during the pandemic, the Hamfest lost its place on that hotel's calendar, because they used to set aside that week for them. Well, they went 3 years without using it, and so someone else took that weekend. And also, they're short of volunteers, really short of volunteers. Everybody is these days. Think of something you'd really enjoy helping out with and volunteer to do it. Volunteer to be, secretary of your club or treasurer or something like that. I was treasurer of the Boulder Amateur Radio Club for something like 4 years. And no problem. I mean, it was easy. So let's see. Hello, Dave and Capital. Phil, KA2QIK. Hello, Dave and all loggies from Kalamazoo. Okay, just got that. Albuquerque. Andrew Paulson, KN4QLR. Commander Andy from the Alabama Gulf Coast. I imagine you got a little bit of rain, at least, from that hurricane that went through there. Robert Varner, hello from KC2TEL in New Jersey. Bust Hon, and I don't know if the H is pronounced. Hi from Papa Alpha 5, Bravo Alpha Sierra, Bas from Giesenberg in the Netherlands. And welcome. Happy to have you. This is great. This is a worldwide channel. Do you know that 25% of the viewers of my videos are outside the United States? So it really is a worldwide channel. Optical Man Jeff, hi Dave from KE0KRO in Sioux Fall, South Dakota, where it's 82 degrees and partly cloudy. That sounds like fairly comfortable weather. Michael, WRYK332, checking in. Help me understand that call sign. Is that one of those shortwave listening call signs that Popular Electronics used to give out? That was a big thing back then, to have one of those. It went WPE and had a number after it. Hi, Dave, from David, K04RNT. Hello, Dave and Augie's trying to repair from hurricane damage. Well, we were just watching on television, and of course, you know what the news does. They always show the houses that fell down, although they did something interesting this evening. They showed one of the houses that did not fall down. And the reason it did not fall down was because it was on 20-foot stilts, and the wave just washed right underneath it. So And good luck to you, Lefty, in getting things squared away from the hurricane damage. Leo says, well, I was stationed at MC Marine Corps LB. There's a big depot out there, isn't there? I thank my lucky stars it wasn't 29 stumps just up from Palm Springs. Yeah, it's gotten a little extra hot down there. I've been in 29 Palms and in a variety of other places in that area. Eric D., we had a tremendous amount of flooding, very high winds, but we did fairly well. Currently it's, oh Lord, 105% with 25% humidity in Florida. No, wait a minute. Oh, that was out in California. Okay, because he said Interstate 10 was shut down from Cathedral City to Indio, California. That's a pretty long distance. And you wouldn't think of a lot of water out there, but if you look at the washes, you can see how much water does go through there, quite a bit. Tremendous amount of flooding. Okay, Neil Marsh, greetings, Dave, and all from W7NRM in Southwest Washington State. Leo Gustafson, man, I'd be happy to volunteer for nearly anything if there was still a club out here. Well, you can always form one if you can find a few friends. I mean, you start out by meeting in somebody's living room and then kind of take it from there. There's a guy down in Pacoima. No, Pacoima's out in the valley. Pomona, somewhere around Pomona. He's an Augie. And he started his own club. And he got all his friends to get ham licenses, and it kind of went on from there. Got like 30 people or something like that. And they do something every week. It will be like a tour of something or some special presentation. They like to do tours. They do fox hunts. They do all kinds of things and stay very busy. Our club here in Montrose, it's a great club. It's been growing. Our president is Kathy, and she has been trying very hard to grow the club. And we are getting more people in the club, but it still just meets monthly. And they're trying to, provide more meat at the various meetings. So people will come for the presentation, even if they don't want to stay for the business meeting. Terrence to Echo Zero into Papa Kilo. Just gone into autumn here, Friday, 1st of September. Well, that's right. It is tomorrow over there. It's 01 September here, according to my little UTC clock. I got this clock from QRP Labs. It normally has a 2-line display, but it will run a 4-line display. So I picked up a 4-line display at, someplace in New York. I'll think of it in a minute. You can get them at SparkFun too. And so I programmed 4 lines. The top says KE0OG station clock. Then underneath that is UTC date and time. Underneath that is local date and time. And then underneath that I have it on a loop with latitude, longitude, altitude, and grid square. And where it says that we're at 20 feet. It keeps changing its mind on that. According to the USGS, we're at about 7,000 right here. Okay, let's see. Neil Marsh is there. Terrence, just getting into autumn, September. Our trees turn color here the last week of September. It's aspen. That's the only tree we have that turns color. There's some scrub oak that turns red, but it's not really widespread. They are up in the hills behind us, but if you go down Highway 550, the last week in September, it's just ablaze in glory. And so I'll make sure to get a few more pictures this year. Robert Edwards, just got to say hi. And you're interesting me in going to Pacificon in October. So I registered. Well, very good. You're in Sonoma County, so not far. Bobby, KM6PAX. Well, come see me when I'm there. I'm giving 2 presentations. One I've got about done. The other I need to do some research for. So, okay, Mina. Hi, new to Shortwave. How can you tell what you're looking at on a waterfall display? How do you know to tune AM, USB, FM? Well, I did a video. Let's go over to the screen here. And we'll just pull up another thing here and go to studio. And we're not going to upload a video, but we'll do this waterfall. Well, Yankee Boy Basin and Waterfalls, that's an actual waterfall. The Twin Falls up there. Boy, that was long ago, 2014, 9 years ago. This is Ask Dave number 21, where I explain what waterfall displays are all about, okay? And it will tell you what it means when you look at a waterfall display. I can bring up, but I'm not sure if it'll show on this. No, it doesn't show up. I'm sorry. I'd have to set this up to show what a waterfall display is. But if you watch that that video, it'll tell you what a waterfall is. Now let me give you another video to look at. And shortwave listening, this one right here. Shortwave listening for beginners is number 352. So if we look at the analytics on this one, this is one of my viral videos. It's had over 727,000 views. And over the time I've put it up, it's actually contributed a fair amount of revenue. So it's been watched for 126,000 hours, and it has added 8.3 thousand subscribers to my list. So, so those are the 2 that you want to look to, and those will explain what it is that you're looking at there. Okay, we'll go back to our view here. Okay, so me nuggets, I hope between those 2 videos you get your question answered. Now, if you don't, if you've got additional questions, send them via email to AskDave, all one word, ASKDAVE, at ARRL.org, O-R-G, okay? And that will come directly to me, and I will answer it in either a quick response to you, or I'll make a video about it, or I might use it in the monthly column in QST called Ask Dave. And please be patient with me. I've got some old questions I'm looking at from last March, so you know they come in faster than I can deal with them. But I try, I really do try. Okay, Yegor Matsika, evening Chad, evening Dave. Mark Goodrum, do you have a favorite ham radio YouTube channel? My channel is called Yam Radio. There are a number of ham radio channels. The earliest one was K0OG. He still does stuff occasionally on his channel. He was kind of the pioneer ham radio YouTuber. I got started in this about 10 years ago, and with the start of the pandemic, I started putting up videos a lot more frequently, and that's when the channel really got big. I've got about 128,000 subscribers. And I've always really enjoyed his channel. You ought to take a look at it. There's several channels out there. Ham Radio Crash Course is popular, especially with the slightly younger crowd, and would be something that you could look at. And I hope you look at this one. I do too. Larry in the Philippines, DU1N6HPX in Manila, is 2 super typhoons off the coast, Goring and Hannah and Building. Oh my. I understand in the Caribbean there is a tropical storm and a hurricane that are about to merge. I didn't know you could do that, but apparently they can do whatever they want. So, hey Dave, this is from Black Ham Radio University, which is another channel, by the way. And the purpose of that is to bring more black people into ham radio, which tends to be pretty lily white. He's trying to get other people from other backgrounds interested in this hobby. And considering that a lot of people in this hobby are aging out, which is a nice way of saying dying, we need to get as many people into the sport as we can. So yes, hey Dave, when making a dipole antenna, I solder one part of the antenna wire straight into the PL259 connector. I think you're thinking of the SO239 connector. I've got one right here. This is an SO239 right here. And you can plug your coax into here. So you attach one side of the antenna right here and the other side to one of these 4 holes. Okay, and that splits it right there, and then you can attach your cable to that. But yes, that's what you do. Connect, do you think it is? Oh, let's see, up here. The part to the frame using a screw and ring terminal. You can do that, but there will be some corrosion. Some of these are silver plated. Some of them are nickel plated. If you use any metal other than what the metal is here, you're going to eventually get some corrosion. I would recommend you solder them to this, and then you can plug your cable right there and take it off. And then when they're soldered, they're going to stay connected without the corrosion. Let's see, better to connect one part of the antenna using a dipole, screw and terminal connector, or solder. I would recommend soldering. Now you want to make sure that however you do it, these corners can take a lot of pull, but what's soldered into here won't. So you almost have to have an insulator right here with this below it, and then you go from here up to this wire, from here up to this wire, and the insulator takes the strain. Okay, Larry is saying, attempting to fix my microphone. Now I want that air conditioning back. Microphone an MH31, which I have been told that you need to be careful doing this. The RJ45, doing this as the wrong wiring could hurt the FT857D. Yes, that is true. And you want, now the wiring diagram for it will be in your manual. Okay, and it'll lay them out pictorially how those 8 wires go in there. The thing doesn't use all 8. Now, be aware that there are 2 widely used methods of connecting cables to RJ45. Between cables, they are compatible, but within the cable, if you do the A wiring on one and the B wiring on the other, you're going to have a problem. So if you're used to doing the RJ45 plugs. And you're used to just throwing it in there and crimping it down. Make sure that you look at the manual and go by the color code that's in there. That rules over the normal RJ45 type things. You know, when the RJ45 connectors first came out, and they are the, see if I've got one handy right here. This. Well, I can't get that out. Oh, there we go. Okay, here's a microphone. And it's got the RJ45 on it. This is 8 pins across. The telephone ones are 3 pins, or 6 pins across. These are 8. Actually, the RJ45 on the internet uses only 2 pair, or 4 of the wires. The other 2 pair are not used. You can use it to run a telephone line along it, or use it to run some power to, like, radio on the roof or something like that. When these were originally designed, people looked at this little flap right there, and they said, that's going to break so easily. And I've had them break, but it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare. So, I mean, they've taken over the world. They're extremely inexpensive. The radio I took this off of is an Anytone 578, which is my base station here. Okay. Okay. ARRL Jones, hello. Hi. Good to see you. ARRL and I were very close in high school. In fact, we looked so much alike that people mistook us for brothers. They wouldn't anymore because ARRL has a lot less hair than I do. But he's worked at Boeing for years. He is an expert on CAD/CAM type stuff. And he's my age exactly. I mean, we were seniors at the same time. He went on his mission to Korea. I went on mine to the Philippines, but I had to wait until they could find a selective service slot for the church, because the selective service, which is the draft people, were only allowing 2 Mormon missionaries per congregation. And my cohort, my age cohort, there were 11. So my bishop spent a lot of his time on the phone trying to find unused slots. He found one for me when I was almost 20. So I went on my mission in June. I had my 20th birthday in July. So there you go. Actually, you can go up to age 26. Okay, let's see. Waiting for the rain to start in St. George. St. George is a beautiful place. I'll have to swing by there sometime. Steve K. Hey, honored to have the daughter. My favorite YouTube on VideoWire. Welcome. Nuggets, awesome. I will check out those videos. Thank you. Do that. And if you have questions, please come back. Now, with regard to comments on the videos, I'm afraid that I really don't see them. And this is bad because YouTube has a feature where if you make a comment, you can also throw in a couple bucks. And YouTube sent me a reminder that I need to go be nice to what they call super thanks people. And I will say to you, thanks, super thanks. I had $100 with one of those. It blew me away. And I've gotten comments from all over the world. It's really something. Let's see. Sending to Larry, look for pass-through RJ45 connectors. It's a lot easier to not cross wires. You'll need a special crimping tool, but I think it's worth it. Yeah, you can get that. Good morning to the young lady next to you from Manila. been catching weather reports from Volmet, Hong Kong, 13.282 kilohertz. You might check that out on your HF radio, see if you can pick that up. This is Jennifer, my daughter. She is KE0OG, and she got her license when she was 9, almost 10. And she is also, when she was 10, she was the one coaching my wife on how to get her license. And my wife is KB0VWW. Okay, let's see. When I attach the mic and attempt to transmit, it rotates to the next frequency. Okay, yeah, you've got the wiring wrong. Check inside the microphone too, because the microphone, if it's like this one, it has push to talk. It has all kinds of buttons on the front, and there's get the right ones here. This is an up button and a down button for frequency, and the Yaesu mics have that. My, if I can get this off of here, I'm breaking everything. This is the mic to my ICOM 7310. It only has the push to talk button, but it has an up and down button on the top that will move the frequency by whatever you set the frequency to be. So if you've set it for every 100 hertz, it'll move it up by 100 hertz and so on. That's good for getting the tuning in a little better. Okay, Leo Gustafson, thank you very much. Leo has put $10 into the chat revenue. That chat revenue is important to me. It's kind of keeps things going here. I just ordered another tool to work with the oscilloscope, and I want to get that, and it was $120 or something. But I like to bring these things so I can help make videos with them. Okay, Leo, thank you for sharing your knowledge and patience with humor. Well, thank you. Neil said to Larry, the ones that have the wires sticking out of the other end so you can see which color is which. Yeah, me nuggets, my favorite thing to do on shortwave so far is listening to number station. The buzzer is going strong today. Those number stations are presumably governments talking to their spies around the world. They use what's called a one-time pad. It's a series of letters, usually. And what they do to create this is not any algorithm, because algorithms can be broken. Any linear system can be broken. You can add some nonlinearities, but it can still be broken. So what they do is they take a noise-generating diode or something like that and feed it into a circuit and let that create the numbers. And then they are not just pseudo-random, they're random, okay? And then you use the one-time pad once. So you got a stack of a pad of all these letters, and you use that, and then this is critical, you use the one-time pad once. If you use a sheet to incorporate another message, wham, they've got you. They can use all kinds of techniques to decode those messages. So that's what those are for. Now, do they have messages for their agents all the time? No, they don't. So what are they broadcasting? They're broadcasting, and those could be generated by an algorithm or by that same noise diode or whatever. But you always want to keep the channel full. The channel is always operating. That way, a counterspy can't tell when you start and when you stop. Okay, that can be very important because, like one of the things the British did with the Germans was the German army had very rigid, structured messages that they had to send. The first line had a little name and then the number of troops. Second line had the division name and so on. They put those things down there. And the British came to expect, because in the German system, the British knew when a message started and when it ended. Okay, and so they could use little things that they knew, and then they set up their semi-computer thing to take possibilities for that and to work through and find possible solutions, and then they'd try the solutions. And they got so good at it that for the Army and the Air Force, they could usually break their messages within a day, sometimes within hours. By the way, that film that Benedict Cumberbatch was in had many technical errors. Many technical errors. But anyway, the Navy put a fourth rotor in their Enigma and completely blanked out the British for about 2 years. And then they finally got back on top of it. And to tell you how they got back on top of it, they started capturing code books that had the settings. One of their favorite tactics was to sneak up on a weather boat, because the Germans would station weather boats way up in the North Atlantic, because the weather that was out there would be coming to Germany. So these people had to transmit the weather. And the British would come up with a submarine, and they'd have people creep onto the ship and take the ship before they could throw the code book overboard. And the code book were printed on sheets that would dissolve almost instantly in water. So if you threw that code board, the code book overboard, it would be destroyed. But they captured quite a few of these code books, and they finally figured out how all that worked. Okay, who is my guest? If the grade, especially if your eyes are suffering, let's see. We're back here to Leo. My favorite thing, listen to the number station. And then the buzzer is reputed to be a station that transmits a buzzing tone just to hold the frequency. So nobody else will try to use that frequency. That's the theory. There is also a theory that if that buzzer ever stops, it means that's when they're supposed to launch. But I call it a dead man's thing. I don't think that's true. Okay. Larry will search for the wiring diagram to do the connector and try one more time. Search on the internet, because Yaesu has a bad habit of having a manual and then the schematics are separate. But the wiring for the microphone should be right up toward the front of the book. If not, there's a section in there called connectors, and they'll have all of those in there for that. Okay. Hello, Dave Ham for 49 years, also known as W3, a Whiskey 3. Yeah, John Ward, W3OJ. There was a W0OJ that I knew on the Front Range. He passed away a few years ago. Neil Marsh, Larry, they're great, especially if your eyes are suffering from a high birthday count. Yes, mine are. I just had cataract surgery done here, and oh boy, has it sure helped. Larry, in Manila, I usually look for some of my old shortwave frequencies like KNLS, KTWR, and others. Unfortunately, the Air Force radio transmitting service. It's the entertainment arm of the morale and welfare people. They used to broadcast that on shortwave, and the one on Guam went away. John Ward, who is my guest, this is my daughter, Jennifer. She is KE0OG UBW, utterly beautiful woman.
You'd be weird.
You be weird, yeah, that too. And she's been a ham since just before her 10th birthday. And she's a computer scientist who took her degree at CSU and now works for Ball Aerospace on things like optics and stuff like that. So she does a lot of stuff. It's very interesting to talk with her about what she does. She has the same clearances I used to have.
People that.
So when I was still working, we could actually talk shop. It was kind of fun. Can't anymore. I've given up my clearances a long time ago. Let's see. Hello from far west Missouri. Hello, Glenn. Temp 78, 43% relative humidity. Our temp outside right now is 81 with 22% relative humidity. So you've got a nice day there. Joe Tyson, Apex, North Carolina, 74 with 77% humidity. As long as you've got the air moving, that's okay. Leo Gustafson in the hanging hook. Kurt P, KD8MGN. Where can I purchase the coiled mic cord that has the shield inside? 7 conductors plus the shield. Older ICOM 2720 using HM133 hand mic. I have never seen the cord for sale by itself. I'm sure you could probably get them. It used to be that the windy part went all the way up to the microphone and all the way down to the screw-on connector. But they've changed that like 50 years ago. Okay. So I don't know, you could look around, but you might be able to pick one up, say, at a swap fest, a ham fest. Let's see, 7 conductor older, yeah. Steve and Brennan, hello to both and other viewers from KC3NZY in Elkton, Maryland. Ben Manley, if you have a regular antenna with, say, 8 dB of gain and a beam antenna with 8 dB of gain, does one really have any more range, or would they be basically the same? It depends, like on everything with antennas. Everything affects everything. Okay, no dipole is going to give you 8 dB of gain. And you've got to remember whether it's 8 dB relative to isotropic or relative to a dipole. On both those numbers, you need to compare apples to apples. Now, the gain is obtained in an antenna by focusing the power in one direction. It's not adding any power, because in the other directions, you're transmitting a lot less power so that you can focus the power one direction, sort of like a flashlight. Flashlight's got a little bulb in it, makes light goes everywhere, and then there's a little parabolic reflector in there that makes it go in one direction. So now if you've got an antenna with some losses in it, it can focus it more but still only give you 8 dB of gain. I'll give you an example. A Yagi versus a log periodic. A log periodic is a pretty good antenna, but it gives you about 8 dB gain, 8 to 10. Then you can do a Yagi, single frequency Yagi, that will also do that, but it'll have a much narrower beam. So, you know, on the surface, those two antennas would have about the same beam width. Now, you're asking about range. The 8 dB in system terms is in the direction of where the station is that wants to hear you, and it doesn't matter what the antenna is as long as it truly is 8 dB of gain. But whenever you hear the term 8 dB of gain, say, is it 8 dB relative to an isotropic antenna or to a dipole? There's a difference. It can be a big difference too. Larry in Manila, that tab happened to my SignalLink USB and had it replaced and works good now. In fact, I listened to weather facts out of Japan on 13.986, which gives good facts. I also see some out of Korea and China. Alan Failer says, hello, Dave and Dave's daughter, Jennifer, from KB8RXY in Ohio. And Leo Gustafson says, hi, Jennifer, with a smiley face. Larry from Manila says, looking forward to getting a Class D license. He is 9 years. The mic needs to replace it as it got soaked once by rainwater, so we'll keep trying. Some of those mic inserts are waterproof and some aren't. You might be able to find a replacement insert. Is AMSAT still working on the golf project? I have no idea, Stephen. Let's just look it up, AMSAT. Get it over the screen here. AMSAT. .org. Okay, here's AMSAT, and was there a search? Yes, golf. AMSAT golf. Greater orbit, larger footprint. AMSAT golf. Expected launches TBD. 2022. It looks like they are running behind. Selected for the CubeSat initiative. There's 35 pages of this, and it looks like they'll still accept donations. So presumably it's still a live program. So hope that answers your question there. All right. When I stick the wires in, I have nearly 1 inch going in, but have not seen the wire come out the other end. If you're talking about these little RJ45 plugs, they will not go through. They terminate at the end, right there. Okay, and one of the problems is if one kind of pulls out while you're getting the others in and you crimp it down, then you've got a wire that isn't connected. I have all the stuff I need to crimp these connectors, but I don't do it anymore because I don't trust myself. Let's see. Steve Brannon, maybe there are questions that David's daughter can answer, like what is her favorite mode? I would assume FM.
Yes, but I don't really use my license that much.
Yeah,
I keep it active to help with emergencies.
So, and she's got a radio that works. I gave her one that does DMR too. Okay, Larry in Manila, when I stick the wires in. Okay, John Ward, remember my Elmer number 2, K3UAL, now silent key. My buddy at the Smithsonian exhibit, NN3SI. Oh, yes, I stopped by there one time, but they chased me away. They were in the middle of something. Elias Acevedo, hello, OG from Tijuana, Mexico. Hello, Elias. Good to see you this evening. Larry in Manila, my favorite pastime is listening to utility bands and air traffic control in Manila on those frequencies there, 8903, 8942, 8843, and San Francisco in 17904. But I used to listen in on the USAF at 11179. Now those 8.9 megahertz type frequencies are standard frequencies used by aircraft for air traffic control when they are overseas. Now, nowadays, they can put things like Starlink and stuff like that on the radios, but they still use the HF as a backup. Okay. Diane Glassman-Kish, howdy from Orlando. Me Nuggets has put $2 into the chat revenue. Thought I'd contribute a little. Anyone else who would like to do that is welcome to. Colin and VK, that's Australia. Good day, all. And good day to you, too. It's the middle of the day there, I think. And it's also their summertime. I don't know, tell me. Do you call what's happening right now summer? Or do you call it winter? Because we're in our summer here. So getting toward the end of the summer. Starting fall. So you should be starting spring, I guess. Anyway, me Nuggets, I found this channel from your antenna videos, which are great. Thank you. I learned so much. I come from a math background, so all the math behind the antennas is something I need to dig deeper on. I also have a math background. That's my bachelor's degree, and my master's degree is in electrical engineering. Now, there is a book that the ARRL sells. Let's see if they still sell it. ARRL.org. Okay, we will go into the ARRL store. And there's books here on antennas. And we've got even more wireless, says the doctor is in receiving antennas, magic bag, the care and feeding of transmission lines. It's not the one I'm looking for. Here, antenna physics, version 2. Okay, a little pricey, but you might be able to get a little cheaper on Amazon. Antenna physics, if you want to get into what's really going on in antennas. It'll help with things like Smith charts and in order to properly describe electromagnetic waves, you need to use complex numbers. And if you've done your math, you're familiar with the exponentials, where E is the base and all that sort of thing. Lots of fun in here. Antenna physics is one giant partial differential equation, but they don't go that deep in here, but they do introduce, Heaviside was the one who put them on a proper mathematical footing, but it's the laws, the antenna laws, Maxwell's equations. This is something that's not really well known. But Maxwell's equations, he had 21 of them. And they used what are called quaternions. Some people think quaternions are very useful. Other people think it's self-inconsistent. Apparently it is. But he did it with quaternions. Heaviside rewrote it completely in terms of operational calculus, with various operators that he had, and got it down to 4 equations. And the modern way it is done is with those 4 equations. So, okay, let's see. Thank you very much, me Nuggets, Colin and VK, on this channel from looking at, okay, yeah. Terrence 2 Echo 0 Indy Papa Kilo. The Germans came out with a 12-rotor Lorentz machine too. They obviously wanted to keep this secure. In fact, in October, were going to Bletchley Park where the code breakers were. They called this code, rather than Enigma, they called it Tunny. Tunney. It was the name of a fish. They used this for all their sources. The computer that was used to eventually decode these was built by a guy who worked for the British Post Office called Tommy Flowers. The computer met the definition of being programmable, whereas what Alan Turing invented was not, in the strict sense of the word. Even though we use the Turing machine test and so on. But the Flowers machine, the code was kept separate from the data, whereas in the Turing bomb, it was all intermingled. The Tommy Flowers computer was so secret that when MIT came out with ENIAC, everybody said that was the first digital computer. It was not until about 20 years ago that Tommy Flowers got his due. After his death, he was the one who made the first truly digital computer. Now, use vacuum tubes, of course, either in a 1 or a 0 state, They found that vacuum tubes tended to fail when you applied power or when you took power away. So they made arrangements in there with all sorts of backups that they would provide this thing with power forever. It would never fail, never go down. And so they had very few tube problems. By the way, this is true of your tube equipment. You ought to note that the tube equipment in the United States was made with 110 volts AC in mind. And now the common voltage is 120. And yes, that's hard on tube filaments. You can get a device called a varactor, which is a roundish cylindrical transformer with a knob on the top. And you can use it's an auto transformer. You can use it, take 120 in and 110 out. It's also very good for bringing up old receivers slowly so that the electrolytic capacitors can reform, not reform, like, I don't know. Anyway, form again, let's put it that way. And so there's a lot you can do with that. If you plug one of those old 110 volt radios into 120, you are inviting early tube failure. Okay, let's see. Germans came out with a 12 rotor Lawrence. That was the one that they used for high command communications, up at the top levels of government, which was a particularly juicy target because it had the strategy stuff in it. Okay. Now, one of the problems was that they tended not to put this stuff on the radio, but it would go over terrestrial lines. Once the British got into Germany, they could go tap these, but it's a story unto itself, separate from what Alan Turing did with the Enigma. Leo, hanging hook on my mic of my IC700 has too long of a screw that was shorting the voice circuit. That is odd. The only screw's right there. So I have a feeling a substitute screw got put in there. It was a little longer. Sometimes hard to find the right length. Okay. Luis Sanchez, A storm knocked down the neutral line on the electrical poles feeding my house. Can I still connect the power supply and run my ham radio and antenna tuner without too much concern? I would recommend against it. Because if you don't have your neutral line connected, then you're forcing the electricity through the ground itself. And that can create unequal currents and stuff like that. I would recommend that stay down and you use a battery, car battery, whatever, to get your stuff going. Because having any of those lines down can create a problem. Also, you can get some funny voltages. Your house is fed by 3 wires. You have a neutral and a ground, but a neutral and then plus 120 and negative 120. And if you connect the outer two together, you get 240 volts. So inside the house, about half of the wires are connected to one side and about half are connected to the other. Okay, and the neutral line keeps everything copacetic. But if you lose the neutral line, you've got electricity running through half the house to service the other half of the house. And if the loads are not identical, you will get a voltage difference in one side of the house. You get far too much voltage. Okay? Usually far too little is not an issue, although it can burn out motors, but can get up. So if that neutral is not properly connected, no, don't do that. It's unsafe. Very unsafe. Okay. Mr. Bob Newell, I need a bigger capacitor. I don't remember a question in that sense. Help me understand, Mr. Bob Newell, help me understand the context for that question. Larry, in Manila, when I sailed, I was on the USNS Meteor en route to Hawaii, and we were off the Big Island when we got called to divert. There was a female pilot hired to fly a plane from California to Hawaii and ditched. Oh my, that could be a serious issue. You're out there in the middle of nowhere, very hard to find. You know, if you've been a pilot and you go over the Midwest, what you quickly discover is one town looks exactly like the next. And it's like really, really, really easy to get lost. So you need your GPS or your nav aids or whatever it is that you're trained to do. So be careful when venturing away from your local area with its recognizable landmarks. I ran into that on a solo I did when I was training. I had to do a solo up to an airport the other side of Grand Junction. And I had been to it before with my instructor, but now I was going up by myself. And I knew it was out there somewhere. So I turned on this, my phone. Come on. Where is it here? Flight plan go. This is on my phone. Okay. That turning airplane there represents where we are on the ground. So I just turned this on, sat it on my lap, and went, well, I think I need to go a little bit to port. And I found the place, no problem. Isn't it wonderful to have a cell phone in your pocket? Okay. Had to fly. Okay, Mark Goodrum. I've gotten into CW this year and really enjoying it. Congratulations. That is quite an achievement. My wife asked me the other day How do non-English countries use the code? The answer is, for those countries using Arabic letters like we do, we use the same code, but if you've got a few extra carriers, the French cedilla, the German umlaut, and so on, and they've got extra code characters for those. There's a whole different code built around Cyrillic or Russian, okay? Whole different code built around that. And the Japanese had their own code too. There are 3 methods of writing Japanese. Katakana, I can't remember them. One of them is fairly simple and quasi-alphabetic. Okay, and so they used a code to where they could send this over the line. So, of course, we had to learn how to do that to do the intercept. And the people who did intercepts in England had to learn the German way of doing it. Every country had its own little characters like that. Yes, there is some standardization at the international level. And yes, where am I going? Did she leave? There's a cat down there. There's the cat. That is Jennifer's cat. It's one of those ragdoll cats. Huge thing. Okay, so that's how they do. They've got extra characters. And there's a lot of them out there. Yo, Dave's up. Okay. Larry, the pilot we spent 10 hours looking for, was found on a Russian fishing trawler en route to Russia. We had a man on board who spoke Russian and got her back. She was 29 years old and got paid big bucks. If you're flying in either seat between SFO and Hawaii, or LAX and Hawaii, or Seattle and Hawaii, yes, you are paid the big bucks. You can't, if you got a problem with an engine, you can't just pull to the side of the road. Paul Russo, K2PB, good evening. Just started using FT8 and found it to be a lot more fun than I thought it would be. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is the most popular digital mode by far. Is alien encounter on Earth mathematically impossible? No. I can't think of any theorem that says that they can't do it.
Fermi paradox, maybe?
Well, the Fermi paradox, I know, but is it mathematically impossible? Your mathematics is going to put some limitations on the technology. What if they have found a way around that? For example, wormholes are now considered a possibility, where space wraps back around on itself and you can zip from one part to the other. There are discussions, I will say discussions, because I think they keep going back and forth on this, whether you go back in time when you go through one or not. Okay. So anyway, I think that the possibility that there will be aliens within reach of Earth is very low. They'd almost have to come from within the solar system. And even then, you know how long it's taken Voyager to get to the point where it's gone beyond the solar system. 20, 30 years. How long was that? When did they launch Voyager? It's before you were born.
Probably, I think it's 50.
50? No, that wasn't 50. They didn't launch him in 50. In the 60s, I think. Takes a while to get out there. Okay, let's see. Dave, Kiernan 1. Hi, Dave, from Dave at Didcot UK. Love your videos. God bless you, sir. Thank you. Optical Man Jeff, KE0OG. Dave, I know that you had a pickup truck. Can you recommend a 2 meter, 70 centimeter antenna that is not a mag mount? Well, if you want to drill a hole in the roof of your car, yes, you can get antennas for that. Try arrow, diamond. I'm assuming that the roof of your truck is metal. What's wrong with a good mag mount? Now, if you do put a mag mount on there, be sure to very carefully clean both the top of the truck and the bottom of the mag mount so that there's no grit in there that's going to do permanent damage to the finish. I would recommend an antenna from MFJ. It's just 19 inches tall with some coils in the middle so that you can also do 70 centimeters on it. Would be a very nice antenna for something like that. If it's not a mag mount, now they do make antennas that clip on. You can do a clip on. It's designed to either clip on the rain gutter on the roof, which is just a little narrow thing, or on like a trunk lid or something like that. You can also get antennas to where you put a patch inside the rear window, put a patch on the outside, and the antenna goes up from that. Those so-called through glass antennas will work also, and that's not a mag mount. And that can be mounted just, on your windshield. Have the antenna go up and it work pretty well. Okay. Now, what I do on the Jeep, because the Jeep has a plastic roof, which is actually removable without tools, I put my mag mount just on the right-hand corner of the hood. So I'm looking out this way is where the antenna is. I don't even see it after a couple minutes. And that seems to work fairly well too. So yes, you do have options. The through glass, you can drill a hole. I wouldn't drill a hole. That's really hard to explain when you're trying to sell your truck. Okay. Let's see. Colin in Australia, it is the first day of spring. Oh, we do the solstices and equinoxes as the start of the season. So it's still summer for us until somewhere around the 21st. And first day of spring, very good. 11 a.m. at 0157 UTC. 57 degrees Fahrenheit precipitation, 3% humidity, 78, wind 8. That wind makes things a lot more comfortable. Larry in Manila, once I get all my radios fixed, here are the 857D and the 706 Mark II. That's a Yaesu and an ICOM. I will look forward to hearing your daughter on HF. Be good DX both ways. Somebody asked me if I can still hear activity on 11 meters. You might be able to hear it from other countries. I know that the Aussies have a fairly active CB community there. I'm not sure if they're on 11 meters. Optical Man Jeff adds a little bit to the chat revenue. Thank you very much. It really helps. Thanks, Dave, for all you do to keep all us hams in line. Well, I think you guys keep yourself in line, and I really appreciate your support. Bill H. Hi from Northwest Louisiana. Larry, one problem I had with the 857 was the voltage before it showed 9 volts. When I turned it on, it was shown by Yaesu. How to changed it, but it changed all the internal codes. It works better now. Good. Me nuggets, I also have a math degree. My focus was on perturbation theory. Oh, God, I remembered those. If you take a curve in space, take a point on the curve, you move the point by some delta distance, infinitesimal, and you find out if that gives you a better solution. And you keep running this and you can get a better solution. And it is a stinker calculation-wise. And if I'm thinking of the right thing. But, oh boy, that was fun, to solving differential equations and also weather prediction. Thanks for all your knowledge. Not so much about perturbation theory, I gotta tell you. Leo Gustafson, oh, like that Variac supply that Mr. Carlson uses on his channel. Yes, you can get them in several different forms. They don't have to be as exotic as his. Larry, when I was at KTWR, one of the operators, a ham, showed me one of their tubes that was damaged. It failed in transmit, and he showed me a new one. It was about a foot long and heavy. NH2CW was the op there. The transmitting tubes that are used for a small 5,000 watt AM station are, you're talking something like this. When you get up to the 50,000 or even 100,000 watt FM stations, you're talking final amplifiers that take huge cabinets. Cooling is usually water cooled, so you have to get the heat out of there somehow. Okay, Russell, K4QPR, says hello to all Augies. Larry says was watching ARRL Alaska on YouTube, where a female was doing the solo, but I lost the change of frequencies, lots of static, and they sent rescue after her and found an hour later. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Cat less than 3 from Pinot Clean.
It's a heart.
It's a heart?
On its side?
On its side.
Yeah, look at it like this.
Oh, a heart. See, I need somebody who understands this stuff. Okay. What's your opinion on the best terminal for VHF packet radio? Just use your computer. I would think. That's what I use. Larry, is there a website to connect an FT7900 to WinLink? There's some clubs here using it on 144.220. You are going to have to use your Signal Link USB. I think we've talked about it. I think you have one. A Signal Link USB on that to do that, probably. FT7900, that's a pretty modern radio. But I don't think it does it automatically. Jeff Wolkovi, photographer. Hi, Dave. Do you have a video about mag loop antennas? I do. Let's go look. I have several. We'll go over here to studio. Here, studio. Okay. And we'll get rid of that, and we'll do mag. Okay, that's mag mount. European style multi-turn mag loops. European mag loops are bigger. They are much. Now let's show all their 17 here. Some of these magnetic inner loop shaping. I did that quite a while ago. Mounting antennas to your car roof. European mag loops. They often have double turns on them. Mag loop efficiency considerations. Mag loop issues. Types of magnetic loop antennas. That's number 536. Magnetic loop inner loop shaping. Review of the Alex Tune mag loop antenna. Using the MFJ 1788 mag loop, which I have. Review of the Chameleon P-loop magnetic loop, which I have. And there's that one again. And then there's a little bit about it in that extra class session. Boy, that was a while ago. It's still up here? Okay. I think I may have, yeah, it's private because you've got to watch it up on the league. Okay, let's go back to normal view. And let's see. So yes, there's multiple on mag loops. Real quick, a mag loop is a compromise antenna, like a major compromise. But the compromise is not strength, it's bandwidth. The bandwidth on the antenna mag loop is very narrow. So therefore, as you move around the band, you have to chase the tuning with the tuning on the mag loop. Some will do it remotely, some you have to do yourself. So it's better for a portable type of a situation. They work, in my experience, about as well as a dipole. Okay, so this is something you can think about if, one, you are having trouble with your HOA, and two, you're price insensitive, because these bloody stinkers are expensive. Okay, I think the MFJ mag loop is up now over $600 for an antenna that's the same as a dipole. Put up the dipole, good grief. And you don't have a compromise antenna either, so something you can do there. Okay, wasn't Voyager launched in 76 or so? Pat says 77, 78-ish. Larry says 78. I believe I was on a ship, saw it leave Earth. We got told by the U.S. Coast Guard to slow down for the launch. It's still alive. Oh, yes, it is. I think both of them are. They almost lost one.
It knows how to correct itself, though.
Thank goodness. She's the software engineer, would know more about it. They sent up some software that had like a 1-bit error.
It shifted the angle that it was at, and so it missed Earth.
Yeah.
So it corrected itself after, I think, a day or so.
Oh.
The redundancies are there to like either undo it, or it kind of knows where Earth is. Maybe we're kind of easy to find.
No, knowing where Earth is a good thing to know. So yeah.
And we told the aliens where we are by sending out a disc.
I know that disc is still there. Carl Sagan put that together. He's long gone. Maybe his spirit is hitching a ride on one of those Voyagers. Okay. Howdy from Eastern Oklahoma. KG5AJP. Tim Fowler. I have modeled my station around your information, including the types of radios that I use and the antennas that I use, and especially your grounding techniques. Thank you so much for your time. Well, Tim, of course, you can always go to dcasler.com/reference, and you'll find the model numbers of all that stuff there. So thank you. I think inadvertently I've sold many ICOM 7300s. I don't get anything for that. Just a warm feeling in my microphone, I guess. Anyway, me nuggets, that's the right thing. Joe Tyson, Voyager 1, September 5th, 1977. What was I doing in 1977? I was in the Air Force. Larry, on the mag mount, I have one on my roof connected to my 7900. Works well, my friend Karen in Pampanga. Pampanga is a region north of Manila, in a valley, big, large valley. Heard me and was using my FT 7900, and it was 25 watts. Very good. Debbie Jessup, my fan dipole 80-meter wire broke in the last storm. Is there a way to splice it back together? Absolutely. Just about anything you're going to do involves taking it down, okay? But you can literally take the two wires up to each other like that, wrap some other wire around it, solder it, and that'll all hold it in place, and it'll work well. Voyager 2 launched 16 days before Voyager 1. Yeah, it was on a slightly different track. I bought several of my books, this is Larry, at a much higher price at Simlims. The ARRL 2013 was at nearly $100. That was a year before I retired sailing in 2017. Interesting. The league is in the process of raising its dues, and it's giving members the option of go ahead and raise the dues a little bit. I think $5. Not sure. I gotta check that. Don't trust me on that. And you can read QST and all the other league magazines on time. By the way, they come out online before the print copy comes out. If you want the print copy of QST, it'll be another 25 bucks. I don't know, sometimes I like a magazine in my hands, but then other times I read it online. So it reads pretty well on an iPad. So I can just take that to bed with me there. Okay. Jeff Volkove photographer, I'm considering an HG3 QRO. The ARRL antenna book has nothing on mag loops. Not quite. There are a couple of very influential engineers at ARRL who consider a magnetic loop to not be a magnetic antenna, but rather a, quote, small HF loop. So if you look in both the handbook and the antenna book for small HF loop, you will find the material that you'll recognize in there is obviously the mag loops. Now, there are also a lot of, I'm on the fence on this, there are a lot of people who don't believe that and believe the way that the mag loop works is by exciting the magnetic field, which then in turn there's a corresponding excitation of the electrical field. And because it's the electromagnetic field, it's kind of inseparable, really. The ratio between the two is 377 ohms. That's the impedance of air, okay, and space, pretty much. But the idea being a dipole's an electrical antenna. You got electrons moving back and forth, and it creates magnetic field waves, which create electric waves, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, antenna physics is very interesting. But it's interesting if you take a full-size HF loop, half lambda or a full lambda, you'll treat it very, very differently from the way you treat a small HF loop. Okay? Which leads me to believe it's a different kind of antenna entirely. But I don't run the engineering department. I don't write the ARRL handbook. I just write a little column and ask Dave. And one time I used the term mag loop and got jumped on, so I changed it to HF loop. After all, they pay the bills. So anyway, that's the thing. It does have stuff on small HF loops, which is mag loops. The thing that blew my mind while getting into shortwave was all the signals that are just beaming around you all the time. Seeing satellite signals on the waterfall is surreal. The answer is yes, indeed. If you think of it not as each antenna creating the electromagnetic field, but there being one electromagnetic field, and each antenna has local influence on it, and so on. And if you look that up, the signal never really dies completely. It just goes on into outer space. And the same is here too. Like there's, I've gotten a couple meters recently that purport to quantitatively measure the electromagnetic field. I don't believe either of them. They disagree with each other. But I am going to do a video about them coming up. We're out of time. Okay, too bad Sagan could have been buried on the moon along with the writers of Star Trek. Yes, well, they can always dig up his ashes or something. Dave, what is the best way to provide 120 volt power to multiple devices at my station without risking interference? Just your normal house wiring or an extension cord. If you have problems with RF getting into your signals, you can use ferrite beads and stuff like that. MFJ got back to me to apologize for the delay. Remark that may, okay. Good, Leo, that's good. One thing I got upset at ARRL was they stopped selling the CD of the handbook when it would have been better for those who travel. But I got the 2013 and the 21st edition handbook there too. What they provide is a very large PDF that you can download and use. In fact, that's what I use because it's a lot easier to search. Plus, I have authority in my contract with the league that I can use their illustrations in my videos. And so I get a much nicer, JPEG out of that than I do if I scan it. Let's see, it's only been, I'm sure people don't like the word mag loop. We call them EM loops because it's an electromagnet. And Xanatax, you must somehow be associated with Twitter. Musk, Elon Musk, sure likes the letter X. Okay, so we are out of time. Actually, we're a couple minutes over. I want to say again to you all how much I appreciate you, how much it feels like community to talk to you here. I love you guys and gals, frankly. I really do. This is my chance to talk to the world using ham radio. I know I could do it on the radio, but we can get 100 people going. I think we peaked at 118 tonight. So if you know someone, tell them about the channel. And if you've got questions, send them to askdave@arrl.org. You can attach things to that, pictures, diagrams, whatever you may need to get your point across. I tell you, there's nothing like a photograph to help me understand what's going on. So there we go. 73s to Dave and daughter. Back to work. Okay. Did you catch the last minutes? Again, thank you to my daughter, KB0 UBW. I haven't used that in years. And thank you for your knowledge about modern life. I appreciate that. All right. We'll see you all later. So until we next meet, 73.